My wife cheated on me with her girlfriend and her husband. Last weekend, my wife 50 went out for drinks and dinner with her best friend. This was planned dinner and not out of the ordinary. She looked amazing all dressed up. She was going to take the night off from dialysis, which is a welcome treat for her. The plan was for her to go to dinner and then go back to her friend's house for a while and then come home. They went out to dinner, but it took longer than expected, which pushed back the time she was going to come home. I told her that maybe she should spend the night and I could bring her clothes or bring her home and we could pick up the car the next day. She said she had some stuff in the car. I have clean gym clothes which would work in a pinch. They took Uber into the city, had dinner and drinks, and took an Uber back to her friend's house. We stayed in communication all evening, and she sent photos. We chatted, and I told her goodnight and we said we loved each other. She did have a few drinks, and I could tell she was a bit tipsy. She comes home the next day in the afternoon, immediately came in, showered and put the clothes in the washing machine. I found it a little unusual because I generally do the laundry, and she didn't wash anything else. She said she spilled something on my shirt, and she wanted to clean it so I wouldn't be mad. After the shower, she went down and pretty much slept until 8 in the evening. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. She's always tired and not doing a treatment compounds her tiredness. The next day, she said that we needed to talk. She started crying and told me that her night out didn't go as planned. She said that once they got back to her girlfriend's house, they had some more drinks and did some substances, which I thought was weed. It turns out I was way off. She said that they did smoke some of it, had some coke, and maybe MDMA. I was floored when she said coke and MDMA. Until recently, she never smoked or did edibles. I assumed she was crying because of what she took, but she continued to say that her friend and her were dancing and listening to music. She said that when everything kicked in, she was really having a good time. She said that they started talking about husbands and intimacy and things they wanted to experience. She said that they were just goofing around and her friend kissed her. Never in a million years would I have expected her to kiss another woman. She had another friend that wanted to have a group activity with my wife and me, and my wife said she would never be with another woman, with or without me. I was okay. It didn't bother me and I actually had a little smile. Then she said it gets worse. She said that she was turned on by the kissing and touching, and said that things went further. Now she had me curious. I was more mad that she did drugs, just because she is on dialysis. She said that things moved in the bedroom, and that her friend's husband was there watching the whole thing unfold. Once they moved into the bedroom, the husband went from a viewer to a participant. She said that the husband was focused on his wife, but then the wife started to put the husband's hand on my wife. My wife said that she pushed his hand away, but her friend was persistent. I asked why she didn't stop and call me. She said that she felt like she was watching someone else's life unfold. She said she felt fairly helpless. She said that her friend and her husband started kissing her and touching her and it felt amazing, like fireworks going off inside her. We have been together and the only partners for 28 years. She basically admitted to having sex with her friend and a husband. She said that they would stop and cuddle and then continue. Then my wife did it with the husband while her friend lay there sleeping/passed out and protected. They did it a couple of times, and the husband went and slept in the spare bedroom after. When everyone woke up and sobered up in the morning is when the regret kicked in. The friend had no idea that my wife did it with her husband without her participation. My wife said that a couple had never done anything like this before, and it wasn't planned. I called BS on her friends. Why would they have coke and MDMA if they didn't like to party somewhat? My wife has been friends with her friend for almost 30 years. We've been out with hundreds of times. They have never given any indication of any of this. I could have handled some of this, but I can't handle it all. So I left her there and stayed in a hotel for a couple of days. She called me hundreds of times and left texts. She started remorseful and blamed the drugs and drinking. She said that she feels powerless in life with needing a kidney transplant and having to do dialysis every day. I told her that I partly understood, but she betrayed me and threw away our life together. Her friend then started calling me begging me to forgive my wife. She said that none of this was planned and that it just happened. She said that her and her husband regret the whole night. I went and met my wife. I asked her to tell me all the details. She was crying and seemed remorseful and said she would do anything to make it up to me. I started pressing her on with her husband. The more I pressed, the more details she provided. The more I knew she really enjoyed it. She said her friend would be open to having the activity with me and her, to right the wrong. I don't think I could bring myself to follow through with it. I'm done with her and want to file for divorce. I will meet with a lawyer next week. I'm not sure where she would live after all this. She doesn't work and has an end-stage kidney disease. We have a house that we have to sell. She would probably get some of the proceeds and maybe some alimony. We have a college-age child together. I feel gutted. Now for the top comments. First of all, what kind of friends feeds their sick friend alcohol and drugs, especially one needing a kidney? Second of all, can we just talk about how she willingly went along with everything from the start, regardless of what state she was in? The whole night was full of some very bad decisions. On another note, I'm so sorry for you. You loved her enough to stick by her side for so many years, and her actions showed she didn't care for that at all. I hope you find some peace, be it with or without her. She cannot get a transplant if she drinks or does drugs, so she's stupid as heck. And her friends are pretty crappy. My word, at their age and to be this damn irresponsible. Not to mention a huge mess of a situation. It's just beyond icky. I'm sorry this happened. Your path seems uncertain. There's a lot to process here. Best of luck. We'll be thinking of you. There's no uncertainty here. She was unfaithful. End of story. Your bad luck does not give you entitlement to cheat, lie, or make someone else's life miserable. Needing a kidney transplant is her excuse for adultery? No offense, but that's insane. You're near the end of death, and your thoughts are to cheat on your husband for nearly 30 years. Yes, drugs were involved, but she is mature enough to know her limits and where these actions could lead. She was texting her husband the whole time. She knew exactly what she was doing. Short-term enjoyment without thinking of consequences. Let her sit in the mess she created. This is heartbreaking. I would literally lose my mind if my partner did this to me after so many years. My God. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to divorce because of what my wife said in therapy? My wife, 37 female, and I, 40 male, got married 12 years ago, and she has been my rock, and our marriage was really good, or used to be really good before we went to therapy. My friend was suffering from a lot of mental health issues, and we were worried for him. He did about 2 years in therapy and is doing a lot better. My wife suffered from anxiety and depression, and she is a vet, which is a very high-stress job. So I recommended she try therapy too, and she agreed. She went to therapy for 6 months and said she likes it and wants me to go with her. I personally find it a little hippy-dippy, but it couldn't hurt, so I agreed. First 2 therapy appointments went well. The therapist, not her personal one, nailed down one thing about my wife. She is extremely distrusting of other humans. She didn't have a good family growing up, and her father sold her dog, which she said was her only friend, and she suffered from an eating disorder and almost ended it in her teens. But as an adult, she's relatively well-adjusted, and she's a great mom to our 2 kids. He asked us as homework to do the Big 5 personality test. It was a long questionnaire, and we shared it with him. My trust of others was a 34 and hers was an 8, which is very low. We asked her to tell him what makes her distrust people, and she said people were very two-faced and only do what benefited them, and she felt like she has a disadvantage in life because of her morals. She is very kind to people, which is weird because she doesn't trust them at all. She helps people a lot, and one of her friends even said she's the one they go to for advice because they know she wants the best for them and can keep a secret. She does a lot of unpaid work to help stray animals and is often depressed if an animal passes away, but she says she does it because she feels extreme guilt if she doesn't help others. But she feels people don't feel guilt hurting her, which is why she prefers animals to humans. Then the topic of our marriage and trust came up, and she was super tight-lipped about it at first, but then admitted she doesn't trust me at all that much. She said she actually married me because I was honest and being kind of in it for myself. She said she can't stand people who appear kind and compassionate, and then lie and backstab people and prefers an honest person. I was shocked because I feel like I'm an honest, but also kind and generous person. But in her eyes, I'm not. But she says it's fine because I'm honest about it. She also admitted she took out the in sickness and in health part of our nuptials because she felt like I would divorce her if she got cancer. But she was okay with that because it would kill her to expect it and then be disappointed. But she felt like she knew where she stood with me. I've been thinking about her words, and it bothers me so much. I asked her out of therapy why she even married me, and she said she knew I was hardworking and honest, and most people are not kind, but they fake kindness to get ahead. She liked that I didn't, and she felt like she really understood me, so she felt safe with me. I told her if she didn't think I was a good person but just an honest one, we should just divorce. And she got mad and told me our marriage was good. We are working together well and raising our kids, and there wasn't anything serious. But to me, I just realized my wife didn't think I was a good person, and I feel like our marriage has been a lie. Edit, some of you are asking if she loves me and I love her. I definitely love her, but in therapy she said she thinks she loves me, but also admitted she doesn't know if she can love humans, as humans are generally selfish and destructive and will take advantage of people weaker than themselves. I'm really worried if she loves our kids. She acts like she does, but it's hard to tell because she goes above and beyond for people she worries are going to backstab her. I think you might need to get your own therapist independent of your wife. She has a very skewed version of reality, and I think her definitions of love, trust, goodness, and honesty are not in line with most people, and these things hold different values for her than they do others. She may think that being a good person isn't valuable since it's not something achievable by most people. At any rate, find someone to help you translate her version of reality to yours. This answer. OP's wife doesn't view him as evil or bad. She puts more value in honesty than people wanting to appear to be good people. Because as said above, she probably doesn't view a truly good person as an attainable thing. I understand OP feeling hurt, but his wife is trying to be truly open and honest about her true feelings and thoughts, which is hugely vulnerable. He will show her how untrustworthy he is if he now turns around, and even inadvertently, twists her words against her. He should really go to therapy and try to digest what she said and continue couples therapy too. I feel like this is also kind of a failing on the therapist's part. The point of couples therapy is to do that translation, to get you on the same wave, etc. We found it hugely helpful in overcoming cultural barriers to communication. My husband's culture is very open and upfront, and that would be considered very rude where I'm from. The idea that he needs a whole other therapist to talk about therapy makes me think this therapist is not totally doing their job. Edited to add, I'm not saying OP shouldn't get individual therapy, y'all. I'm saying the couples therapist is falling short. Those are two different things. I definitely see where you're coming from. However, the whole point of therapy is to fix issues like this, so I'd stick with it for now. Yes, it seems sort of counterproductive to go to therapy and leave her, for being honest. Was this issue even at the center of therapy, and did the therapist really need to go there? She is insecure, and this has now become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Last story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend over her going out with a guy friend for dinner and drinks late into the night? My 23 girlfriend of 9 months, 23, and I were supposed to hang out Saturday night at around 10 p.m. Around 6 p.m., she informed me she might be late and I should probably come tomorrow. I said I do not mind coming later and sleeping, just so we can have breakfast, etc. She said okay and would let me know when to leave. I asked her what she is up to, as I was a little concerned, and she said she was having dinner with a client. She teaches piano to kids. I'm a bit suspicious of this, but don't assume any problems. 10 p.m. rolls around and I'm ready. I text her if I should leave. No reply for 15 minutes. Text her again. She says tomorrow. I ask her to call me and she says not now. I said okay soon. She calls me and while I assumed this was a woman, she is actually with a 35-year-old man. At this point, I am very uncomfortable. She never told me about this and has now cancelled our plans and had been unresponsive. We text a bit with it mostly being just me telling her this is a pretty big boundary she's crossing and that I'm upset she did not tell me before, cancelled our plans, and doesn't seem to see the big conflict of interest here. I don't want to micromanage her life and do not own her, but I think this is way different than a party or hanging out with an old friend and is a clear boundary issue. She called me when she got home, which was at 1 a.m. She also isn't out late very often, even when we go out. I was very upset, and we had a short but heated argument where I said she was effectively on a date with this guy whether she knew or not. She apologized the next day and wanted to come over yesterday to talk. When she came over, she apologized to me, but I said I needed some more info. I asked about this guy, who he was, how long he had known her, what the night timeline was. Apparently, she has known him since spring and has gone on multiple dinners with him such as this one, and she was teaching him lessons, and not his child as he has none. This is where I might be the a-hole. I said to her that I want to be with her, but there is doubt in my mind, and I don't think we can move forward without me seeing her communications with this guy. She said no, and that this felt invasive. After she asked for a break, I made a situation an ultimatum that this was a point of no return, and she took her things and left. After we talked about how good our relationship was before, and if there was anything we hadn't yet communicated or other issues. This whole time she seemed upset, but didn't tell me anything like I messed up for not trusting her. She just immediately accepted the situation and wanted to leave, which is odd to me. I admit I was a bit aggressive with the questioning and the questions I ask, not how I ask them, but I'm just unsure if I made a mistake in not believing her or how I asked for this information. I'm pretty sure something happened because of the way she reacted, but I wanted impartial feedback on if I'm the one who messed up here. Not the a-hole. The fact that it happened multiple times and she never mentioned it meant something was going on. It's totally possible for them hanging out meaning nothing, but it's the secrecy that's the problem. Not the a-hole. Piano teachers don't go out for multiple dinners with clients. She was up to something. Don't feel guilty. It sounds like she wasn't really upset that you broke up with her, so she was probably already moving on from the relationship. Is she a serial dater? Lines up the next one before the current relationship ends? Yep. She may have even been relieved at his ultimatum to break up, because she then didn't have to break up and be the jerk for going behind his back and falling for another dude. Better to break up with her now than give her the chance to have her cake and eat it too, by taking a break if Piano Boy didn't work out. You don't know it yet, but you are not the main man. You have a 35-year-old single man taking piano lessons from a 23-year-old female. I wouldn't be surprised if she's not the main woman either. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not even taking lessons.